Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the 5th episode of the monthly threat brief, the SIG download. I am Trisha Howard, aka Trisha Kicks Sass, with the Akamai Security Intelligence Group, and I am so excited to be joined by Steve Kupchik today. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
What's up?
This show is up. I tell you, it's going to be really great. Since it is the Valentine vulnerabilities, I decided that a way to introduce Steve very briefly was paying an homage to one of a wonderful love song. I think that most of you will recognize. So just very quickly, and then I'll let Steve properly introduce himself. S is for the samples of malware he sees. T is for the threats he finds effortlessly. I's intelligence like to a quantum level. V is voracious the way he approaches security. Welcome, Steve. Hey!
Thank you. Thank you.
Of
That was
course.
amazing.
Have to. So, if you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself a little bit, what you and your team does here. Your team is a little unique here at Akamai, so if you wanted to talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get into the show.
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone, I'm Steve. I'm a security researcher at Akamai. I've been in Akamai for, I think, nearly 4 years now. Um, so what our team does, I'm part of ESG and the enterprise security group in Akamai, and we're a pure research team. And there are a lot of research teams in Akamai. So we're not unique in this regard. But most research teams in Akamai are actually tied to a specific product. So, for example, the WAF team, we have the Web Application Firewall as a product, but it also has its own dedicated research team that does research for it. Our team, however, we're a bit more unique, or we're unique in the regard that we are not tied to a specific product, and we basically do whatever research that we want to, as long as it's cool. Um,
Your research is
so,
definitely cool. I will say that.
so if we want to do vulnerability research, we do vulnerability research and find and look for vulnerabilities to report. If we want to do, we want to go into cloud, we go into cloud. We want to go into containers, we go into containers. Malware
Sure.
analysis, we do malware analysis. Patch Tuesdays, we do patch Tuesdays. In case someone can read it, because I know I can't, because it's the opposite. It says Cabbage Patch Tuesday. Um, so that that's it basically. We do many kinds of research, OS internals, malware analysis, vulnerability research, basically whatever looks cool and is interesting, and we just like to write blog posts about it.
Yes, and we love to work on those blog posts. That's always a great time. Yeah, I always like working with all of our researchers, but Steve's team, of course, working on it's never a dull moment working with Steve's team. I tell you, it's so exciting. And we're going to be talking a little bit about some pieces that y'all have worked on, but I do want to start with the elephant in the room, if you will, of security, which is Lockbit. One of the biggest Valentines, if you will, that we got this past month was the album release of effectively of the Lockbit drama. So I wanted to ask you, I know your team doesn't work on this kind of stuff like on a day to day with what was going on, but your team does deal with ransomware a lot and mitigating that. And you particularly have an interesting view because of your work on the Conti leaks. So I wanted to kind of ask you. I asked you like a lot of things, but if you wanted to talk about like Lockbit and all that, welcome.
Well, I mean, I haven't really kept up to date again on a day-to-day basis with Logbit,
Sure.
because yeah, that's not our typical line of work. We have analyzed our fair share of ransomware samples in the past, but um, not on, we don't really work on leaks that much. With Content was an exception because it was a very comprehensive leak.
Sure.
But with the Logbit, I did read their source code that was leaked a while ago.
Hmm.
I think it was for version 2 or 3. I don't remember, 2 probably. So we do that from time to time based on our own interest. but we
Mhm.
don't keep track on a day to day. But yeah, Logbit was a very cool takedown. I mean, that was amazing. I've seen it, and then I've checked other tweets about it, and it, you've very tiny tidbits here and there, and then like I haven't really read the full publications and official responses from all the agencies that were participating in the takedown, but I read tidbits here and there, and it's like amazing.
Yeah, and it certainly was a what a journey, right? There are is at least one link in the attachments for those of you who are listening. That's to VX Underground's X, formerly Twitter feed. Highly recommend going through their. It's very very detailed, the account of from start to finish. The most recent update being that they were back online. I believe it was 2 days after the official takedown. Right? Was it? I think it was like 2 days. So this is a theme that we are seeing, and kind of pointing into the Conti stuff. This is why I kind of wanted to talk about that. Is these gangs are a business, like in the most like basic terms, they are a business, and we saw that very, very, very clearly with the Conti leaks. As you said, it was very thorough. We got to see org structures, right? While we don't necessarily have that with Lockbit, we did see that they have the infrastructure. There was a phishing scam that Katz and I worked on a while ago that they had their own infrastructure as well. So one site goes down, 20 of them pop up. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? What, yeah, what are your thoughts
I
on this?
mean, that's not. It's not surprising. Most serious players in this, let's say, market,
Hmm.
um, they have their backups because they know they can get takedowns. That they use the Onion networks and Tor networks sorry, Onion sites and Tor networks
Sure.
for this purpose as well, to cycle through it and to have that sort of safeguard. But
Hmm.
of course, they have their backups. And in this case, I believe it's been. I know it's been rumored. I don't know if it was officiated that they were taken down through a vulnerability in the PHP website.
Hmm.
Um, so, of course, yeah, they have the PHP website, but vulnerabilities can be fixed and the leaks can be patched, and then they can just go back online, like any other business, any other organization, and even more so. I mean, there's not been a lot of arrests following the Lockbit takedown. They've taken down their sites, and they've managed to get the aliases of all the
Hmm.
affiliates. Um, but it's not. But there are still wanted posters, digital versions for all the Lockbit for the higher ups in the Lockbit, that's the organization. So it's
Right.
very reasonable that they have backups and they can go back online.
Sure. Yeah, again, just like a business. You hit on something though, you said patching, right? So I wanted to hit on this because when we talk about like the basics of cybersecurity, patching is always one of the first things. We work on it very closely with Patch Tuesday and all of that. But one of the things, I wouldn't say it's a new trend, but it's something that we have seen a lot lately, is abusing one days, right? So one of the ones that comes to mind immediately, which is rather apt that we're talking about it today on the leap year, Fritz Frog, a Golang P2P botnet that was originally discovered by our researchers in 2020, came back on the scene abusing Log4Shell. And we're seeing, I mean, that was in 2021. It's still wrecking stuff. So do you want to talk about like the threat actors using 1 days versus 0 days, and specifically within the nation state realm, because there was a ton of nation state stuff this past month also.
Well, let's start with non-nation state hackers and then move on
Or
to the nation state. So it's not
ramp
surprising
up.
anyone. Yeah, it's not surprising anyone is using 1 days, because now that, I mean, attackers only need like a few 1 days to get it on. They just need to hit once. And usually, unless again you're a nation state and you have a specific target, you don't really care which organization you hit, as long as they have some sort of pockets you can pilfer money from.
Mhm.
Um, so they just need to hit a target. And defenders, they have harder job because they have like a ton of systems and applications and servers that I need to keep up to date all the time and through all the patch use dates. And some patches don't work that well, and some changes break production, so we have to test them. So we don't patch immediately all the time. So 1 days are very common, and living on the land is very common because developers themselves they like to use PowerShell, like to use some other stuff that can be used as a lol bin.
Right.
So it's not surprising that attackers are using them because the cost, the value for money, let's say, is minimal. They don't really have to develop a lot. They just need to use it or get a POC and then just polish it a bit and they can use it.
Right. Which is
Um,
easy to grab. I mean, you can get it on GitHub, move on.
yeah, yep.
Yeah. Hmm.
Versus, for example, 0 days that are a lot more expensive, both in the time required to find a vulnerability, then the time required to polish an a POC into a full-fledged exploit that works all the time. There's a reason those things are valued in like the millions.
Right. Right.
Um,
It's a product. It's a product. I mean, if you're looking at it on the business side, sadly, it's a product.
you
Yeah.
literally have companies that that's all they do. They offensive they
Hmm.
offer offensive capabilities, and yeah, it's a product for it in and by itself.
Hmm.
And again, if you're not a nation state, you usually don't have that kind of money to throw around um, to to get 0 days. And even if you are a nation state, you will probably want to keep your 0 days to the highest hitting targets
Hmm.
or
Mm.
the biggest fish, and keep and use more burnable stuff. Like the analogy is burner phone, right? I won't use my
Yeah.
personal phone when I commit a crime. I will use a burner phone. So
Right.
the same
Right.
thing is with attackers. They will use 0 days when they really need to, and it's high value target. And they don't have any other option. Otherwise, a 1 day for the win. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you usually also when you talk about nation state, they have like a lot of obscurity and OPSEC, and it's hard to track them. So
Yep.
usually when we categorize an attack as a nation state attack, it's by the technical level and expertise of the attack. But if they use a 1 day, which is a low level technique or low expertise or um, capability,
Hmm.
so you won't necessarily even be able to do the bridge, the logical leap to a nation state. So it also adds to the obscurity of the attack. And yeah, we know of a lot of nation states that do use 1 days for various reasons.
Sure. I mean, it makes sense. And your point about the targets, I think, is something I want to hit on. When I said there was some nation state attack, some activity, there was one in Sweden that took down an entire data center of one of their. It was a giant company, took them down overnight. There was another healthcare organization that was hit. So when we're talking about nation states, like we're talking about some pretty serious stuff, which is what you alluded to. For the people who are not in the the whale hunting category, if you would, that would be at the threat of a nation state creating a 0 day for that, what are some mitigations, because I know your team works with ransomware mitigation a lot, that you could provide some insight to our listeners here?
I mean,
All right. It looks okay. Yeah, I'm so sorry. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties here. We'll see if Steve can join back in for a minute and give us his very very important tips. I will take this time to go to our at the end of our show. So for we'll wait just a second and see if Steve can hop back on. But if not, I hope to see you back here on March 27th. Hey, Steve. Okay. Do you want to give your mitigations
I
really?
I I, I might have said too much.
You might have
Someone
said, yep.
probably they send a 0 day to crash my website. I don't know.
Anyway,
Uh,
you want to go in with their mitigations and then we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, so basically, attack has a multiple. basically 3 steps. They have to get in the breach, then they have to spread it around the lateral movement, and then they have to do whatever they want to stay. The active part, exfiltration, ransomware, whatever. The breach is fast. It happens. It comes from the internet. It's hard to detect because you need to filter out a single attack, for example, from multiple scans that because the internet is always scanned. The lateral movement phase is usually the longest part here. So you have a lot more friction points that theoretically can be used to detect attacks. So I think that's the best way to find attackers. You need to have more detection on the lateral movement state inside the network. More protections there. Do not segmentation, firewalls, antiviruses, EDRs, just to detect the attacker as it tries to spread around in the network, and then stop them in their tracks. And a good segmentation, a good firewall will make it harder to move around the network. Good identity control as well, and then
Oh,
visibility
right.
with tools and EDRs into suspicious activities will also raise alerts that you can then investigate and potentially stop an attack in its tracks. That's basically my
Brilliant.
recommendation.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you
You're
for having
all,
me.
it's always a pleasure to have you on, and thank you so much. It was great. Like I was saying, 27th of March is our next episode. I'm going to have Roger Baranka on with me as our VP of our SOC, so it's going to be a really exciting episode. And as always, come check out our SIG page and our most recent blog post. The links are in the attachments down at the bottom of the page, per usual. And we want to hear from you. So if you have feedback, please send us an email at brighttalk@akamai.com. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see. And thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. Hope you smiled today. Cybernara!